morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Harnett County Commissioners meeting for Tuesday, January the 31st. I'd like to call the meeting to order at this time. Ask Commissioner McCoy if she will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance and our devotion, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Let us bow our heads. Dear Lord, we come before you once again, thanking you for all your blessings and your mercy and your grace. We thank you for giving us the privilege this day to have this meeting here. And we thank you for all the people that are here in the audience for this meeting. Lord, we ask you to put your special blessings over this meeting and continue to bless us. Continue to guide each and everyone that's serving on this board and give us the heart to make the right decisions for the Harnett County as well as for the citizens of this county. This is my prayer. Amen.
Amen.
All right, the next order of business, item number 3 is a discussion about the growers market. Chairman Nickel asked me, okay, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, I was ready. Good morning, Vice Chairman Morrison, Commissioner Matthews, Commissioner McCoy, and Commissioner Weatherspoon. My name is Margaret Morton, and I live at 86 Gwendolyn Way in Harnett County, and I am the market manager of the Fuquay-Varina Growers Market. I was invited to be here before you by Chairman Nichols to share with you how the Growers Market was able to use ARPS funds to help preserve farms and provide food security to those in need in the community, and advocate for County Farmers Market as defined in the Harnett County's 2032 strategic plan. The Fuquay-Varina Growers Market is a seasonal farmers market that has been in existence in one form or another since the late 90s. The market is a 501c3 nonprofit and is funded by business sponsorships and grants. The market operates in the Fuquay-Varina Chamber of Commerce parking lot right off Main Street on 401 on Saturday mornings from April through September. The Fuquay-Varina is a member of Got2B&C and is required to adhere to the USDA's non-discriminatory regulations and policies. The town of Fuquay previously ran the market using a John Rex Foundation grant from 2015 to 2018. The Post Center for Health Education and the Fuquay-Varina Chamber of Commerce partnered to reopen the market in 2021 in middle of the COVID pandemic. Farmers and vendors erect tents, and the market sets up a few to process SNAP and EBT transactions, host guest musicians, kids events, sponsors, and guest nonprofits. The Growers Market uses a token system in order to accept SNAP EBT transactions, and we are certified to receive WIC and Senior Farmers Market Nutrition Program vouchers. The Cooperative Extension of Wake County received ARPS funds from Wake County to address food security during the COVID-19 pandemic. The extension's goals were to reach those in the community with food insecurity and at the same time help preserve farms. Because the Fuquay-Varina Growers Market is set up to accept SNAP and FMNP vouchers, we were one of 5 farmers market in Wake County chosen to receive an ARPS mini grant. Part of the grant funds allotted were to offer double bucks on SNAP benefits used at the market. We chose to double up to $20 in benefits spent. For example, if $20 were swiped on a beneficiary's SNAP EBT card, they were given an extra $20 to spend in the market. That provided a total of $40 for families to spend on SNAP-eligible goods at the market. So that was a win for the families and a win also for the farmers. Within the first 3 weeks, we used the $500 granted to us for double bucks. For this reason, we were awarded an extra $1,500, which almost lasted until the end of our season. We also received a grant by UNC Health, which helped carry us through the end of the season for double bucks. We were required to submit detailed monthly reporting, which included dollars spent in benefits and double bucks issued, beneficiary demographics, impact of our marketing, foot traffic, and end of season final report, summary report. I've included a copy of that report in the packet I'll be giving you at the end of my presentation. So how did we use the ARPS funds, which totaled $6,800? And these were determined by the cooperative extension. We sponsored the vendor fees for our farmers, bakers, and other select SNAP eligible vendors. They had to fit one of four criterias. Either the farm was located in Wake County, it was woman-owned, could also be co-owned, BIPOC, or we were their first market. We also were given funds for marketing, for print, flyers, signs, and Facebook ads. Produce to pantry, we were given $2,200, $100 per week. That was 22 Saturdays. And for the supplies for kids' activities, double bucks, and we already went through that, but it doubled benefits up to $20. We could have done more, but obviously we would have run out of funds. So how did the ARPS funds assist us in growth last year? Thanks to the ARPS grant, our market experienced tremendous growth in 2022 compared to previous years. We went from having 8 to 10 vendors to 18 to 24 on any given Saturday. Average foot traffic increased from average of 150 to 550 each Saturday. Farmers experienced increased growth from previous years. One farmer from Harnett County reported an increase of 700% from their previous 2 years at the market. Their customer base also grew and were retained after end of season through their CSA and online platform. The next slide, this slide has a detail of the outreach that we accomplished, and this is one of the things that I'm really proud of. Aside from the Holly Springs Farmers Market that runs year-round and has double the number of vendors, based on our size and duration of our market, the Fuquay-Varina Growers Market came in first in benefits used and total pounds of produce donated. The grant allowed us to purchase $100 worth of produce from our farmers to donate on a rotation basis to 4 different organizations in the community, such as the Fuquay-Varina Emergency Food Pantry, Pine Acres Community Center, Fuquay-Varina Homes for the Elderly, and Operation Nayel. We also created a scavenger hunt activity for kids and gave them a $2 voucher to spend on fresh fruits and vegetables to promote healthy eating. Lastly, and this one's an important one that can be duplicated in this county with the Department of the Aging, we partner with Meals on Wheels of Wake County and our largest farmer, Ogren Berries and Produce, to deliver 290 produce baskets to homebound low-income seniors paid for with Senior Farmers Market Nutrition Program vouchers. The next slide shows the economic impact that we had on our vendors. I asked at the end of the season for vendors to report their total sales. 67% of them responded. The total reported was $137,000. And as you can see from this pie chart, our farmers had the most revenue in part due to increased marketing and outreach dollars spent. That's over $87,000 just on four farmers. So the main reason I'm standing before you was not only to share with you how the Fuquay-Varina Growers Market was able to use ARPS funds, but also to advocate for the creation of much-needed county farmers market in partnership with an ag-related county department. In the Harnett County's 2032 strategic plan, specifically the 2023 Key Strategic Action Goal 3.2, It states, provide support for local farmers markets and community gardens at county locations to support healthy food options for residents. We have an influx of new residents, farmers selling to developers, and so many more families suffering food insecurity due to inflation. A farmers market would support our community and help preserve our farms. Farmers markets are defined as a 2023 strategic goal, and with the availability of ARPS funds, this is the perfect time to reestablish a county farmers market that can later be expanded to other areas of the county. So here are my recommendations of how to get started. Farmers market that's managed by an ag-related county department. Set up an initial farmers market in an outdoor and highly visible location, such as the Harnett County government parking lot, right here. By the road where people can drive through and see it. Once a week, preferably on a Saturday. Invite farmers and SNAP eligible vendors to sell at the market. Use ARPS funds for staffing, and I know I have spoken for a couple of hours with Tim and Lynn about this, and staffing is probably their biggest obstacle right now. Vendor fee sponsorship for agro producers, bakers, and other SNAP eligible vendors. Farm to pantry donations for double bucks and marketing. The farmers market would need to be farmers market nutrition program certified and be able to accept SNAP and EBT. Partner with the Department of the Aging to distribute fresh produce to homebound seniors like we were able to do with Meals on Wheels. Beyond 2023, take your proven best practices and methods that can be applied to open other satellite county farmers markets, for example, in Benhaven, Dunn, Anderson Creek. Establish coalitions and partnerships with local nonprofits and other community-serving organizations to coordinate efforts and expand reach. And I can tell you, I am involved with at least 7 coalitions. Our market was also invited to be part of creating the next food security plan for Wake County. And it has been really life-changing, at least for me and for the work I do. So you can learn more about the Fuquay-Varina's Grower Market and our mission at our website, and I'll give you a handout, and I'm here to entertain any questions you may have.
Any questions from the board members?
I have a question for Tim. Tim, my question to you is, are they not building this market, farmers market here in Littleton?
I've missed the first part of your question. I'm sorry.
Are they not building a farmers market here in Littleton?
I'm not aware of them building a farmer's market here in Lillington, no.
But that's something we need to check out because on Front Street going out towards IGA, that lot there that used to be community center, that's what I was told that was going to be.
Okay. That may be being done by a private entity, but
No,
I'm not aware
it's
of
through
it.
the town. It's through the town of Lillington. I did happen to bump into their events person from their Parks and Rec, and she knew nothing about farmers market. She just wanted to bring in vendors and have people come there. I know the building used to be the old community center.
Yeah.
But if they do open up, this is where the ag department can have them apply for ARPS mini grant. But they would need to have someone that had knowledge of farmers market, or at least have the enthusiasm and heart to move it forward. And enough staffing for it.
It sounds like, if I may, it sounds like we may have some redundancy here. We need somebody to coordinate with Lillington and somebody to coordinate with Dunn, because I saw Dunn was on there, and Dunn already has a fairly successful farmer's market.
It's in a parking lot, right?
Right,
But it's
it's-
not SNAP EBT or,
But that,
yeah.
yeah, that may very well be the case. I don't know that much about it, but there's a number of vendors usually there in the summer months. It's just a matter of coordinating it and getting everybody on the same sheet of music, which is something staff can probably help with.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion that we table this till the February 28th meeting so that we can do more study on this proposal.
Okay. Motion on the floor. Second. Did you second, Mr.?
Yeah.
Okay. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of tabling this till the February, what was that date? Mr. Elizabeth? You say 28th?
28.
February 28th meeting, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, Madam Secretary. Thank you. Okay, item number 4, discussion of acceptance of the Veterans Treatment Court grant and an opportunity to allow for a new grant. Mr. Truesdale.
Good morning, Commissioner Morris, Commissioners. Good to see you this morning. Back in April or May, the Board of Commissioners gave the District 11A Veterans Treatment Court permission to apply for a Treatment Court discretionary grant, which has been approved and has been granted. So what I'm here today is to ask your approval of acceptance of that grant. Will be a $750,000 grant. It'll be $187,500 for 4 years. The match required is a 25%. However, the 25% match is done through in-kind staffing of the Veterans Treatment Court judge, the district attorney, clerk of court, probation officer, veteran service officer such as myself, and the VJO from the 2 veterans medical centers. So it certainly satisfies that match. So that grant will not only fund our director, some legal assistance, some travel for training to the national conferences. It has some crisis intervention, some substance abuse type of treatment, and also mental health assessments. So if there's any questions, I have Zane Campbell. He's the director of the Veterans Treatment Court. He can get into more detail of what they actually will be doing with this. But you guys gave permission to do this. They applied, and it has been awarded. So what we need from you on this particular item is the approval to accept.
Is this time of the essence, or can we put it on should the board approve, put it on the
Right.
consent agenda?
Right, correct. Okay. All right.
Mr. Chairman, I recommend we add this to consent agenda for our next meeting.
Ms. McCoy?
I second it.
Okay. All right, motion hadn't been, well, we don't need a motion, we just put it on the consent agenda, Madam Chairman. Secretary.
Okay, the next item we have before you today is we've sustained this court for over 9 years now. In only just a few months that we've had to use any county funding from Lee County or Harnett County to make it work. So we try to stay ahead of that. And the Veterans Treatment Court is already looking at another grant. In this case, it will be a $1 million grant over 4 years. And I asked Zane Campbell if he would come talk to us about that grant and what it'll do for us.
Good morning, Commissioners. So this grant is another BJA grant that is funded through the Department of Justice. The match in kind, 25% as well, is going to be covered through the same way that we've been doing it for the last several years. So it wouldn't require any type of match from any county funds in order to achieve this grant. Currently, about half of my staff is covered after the end of this year. So if we are not able to get these grants, not only is it going to cause us to have to cut staff positions, but it's going to make it so that our court is not fully functional. My hope is that since I took over of January of last year as the director, that y'all have seen and heard some good things about our court, how we've been progressing, moving forward, utilizing the latest research and technologies to ensure that we are trying to combat this opioid and mental health crisis that is rampantly overwhelming not only Harnett County, the state of North Carolina, but even on a national level. This new grant will cover my second case manager. It'll cover moving my field compliance officer to a full-time position. Currently, he works full-time hours. He gets paid for those hours. However, he doesn't have any benefits or anything associated with that, and I need to remedy that situation. His role is more than essential to our court as he travels all over the area, checking in on these veterans, doing random home visits, making sure that they're okay, and doing random drug screening and mental health type assessment stuff. It would also provide for additional staff training. We do have 2 brand new case managers that we need to try to get fully trained with NADCP and Justice for Vets type training. As with any type of BJA grant that is needed, you have to send people to the NADCP conference, so those slots would be built in here as well, which we do attend every year. So it would also bring my mentor coordinator position to a full-time position as well. Currently, he's kind of in the same boat as the field training officer or field compliance officer. It would add some funding for outpatient mental health services. In the previous grant, we do have a little bit for outpatient substance abuse and mental health assessments. This grant would allow for some funding for the treatment itself. A small amount for general office supplies, drug testing, some inpatient substance abuse. We've been trying to find and work with whoever we can. I don't know how familiar you all are with the cost of inpatient substance use training, but to give you an idea, in Wilmington, when I called to figure out how much a 28-day program was and see if they'd work with us to give us a slot at a cheaper rate, I was told it was over $1,500 per day. That's obviously not something that is affordable by any budget. So we're trying to work and find other partners that we can use and utilize that'll be able to give us some inpatient beds at a good rate. All the positions that I've listed above are currently filled, so it would just be ensuring that we're able to continue those positions and continue to operate our court in the manner that we are currently. Do you have any questions about this grant or the opportunity that's presented?
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
But do you feel this grant will be is enough for 4 years? Or will you have to reapply for something else?
I think this grant would cover me for the next 4 years, ma'am. The previous one that Eric was discussing prior to that covers the other half of my court for 4 years.
Okay.
This grant would cover the missing half that would be needed for the next 4 years. So we would be in a very good position, and I don't believe, and Eric could probably correct me if I'm wrong, but typically I think about every year, every other year, we've been coming in front of y'all saying, hey, we need this grant, we need this grant. I'm trying to set this up for a long term. So in 4 years, we can say, hey, now we can start looking at these other funding opportunities. That way we're not constantly having to focus on reapplying and reapplying and reapplying for grants.
Thank you. Another question is that are we still covering 3 different counties?
We cover many counties, ma'am. So there are currently 5. There's getting ready to be 6 veterans treatment courts in North Carolina. But the other courts only take from the county that they have to live in the county and their charges have to be in that county.
Okay.
So that's leaving a massively underserved population of veterans. Now, though most of our veterans are coming from Harnett, Lee, and Wake counties, we do get veterans from Johnston counties and other outside areas just so we can ensure that we're able to help as many as we can with the funds and the knowledge that we do have.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
If I may, maybe you told it and I missed it, but this is $1 million grant?
Yes, sir.
And how much is the match on it?
It'd be 25% as well, which we more than meet with our matching kind that we have already set up.
Okay, so your in-kind will cover the $250?
Yes, sir.
Good enough. Any other questions from the board? Is there a consensus to put this on the consent agenda? Okay. Make it so,
Yes.
Madam Clerk.
Thank you all very much.
Before I step away here,
I think Zane was going to invite you guys over.
Yes. Apologize, I got caught up in the grant stuff. So tomorrow actually is a pretty big day for the court. We're going to be graduating our 100th veteran from the program. We have 4 that are graduating tomorrow. So I'd like to invite any of you to come over and witness that. We'll also be inducting 2 new mentors into the program. So it'll be a great day to come and observe the court. Court starts at 2:30. The ceremony probably won't be until around 3, but if you'd like to come and observe, we'd be more than happy to have y'all come and see what we're doing.
I just want to make this statement. I think you all do awesome work
Thank
for
you.
the veterans in this county and the surrounding counties.
Thank you, ma'am. I greatly appreciate that.
That's all we have. Thank you.
All right, thank you, sir. All right, item number 5, discuss stream debris removal and service agreement, approval for Neals Creek.
Good morning, Commissioners. Today I come before you to ask for your approval of our service agreement for our next stream debris removal project. We are proposing a service agreement with J&J Environmental for stream debris removal within Neals Creek in line with the Stream Flow Rehabilitation Assistance Program, where we have already received approval from NCDA for those grant funds. So we do have the funding in place for this project. J&J Environmental is the same firm that completed our most recent stream debris removal project in Anderson Creek, the Upper Little River, and the Lower Little River. So they are familiar with the county, and they did excellent work for us within the scope of that project. And so we are just asking for approval of the most recent contract with them in line with the STRAP program. This project will allow us to clear debris from approximately 5 miles within Neals Creek, starting around the area of the Neals Creek Farms community and going to Harnett Central Road, under Harnett Central Road, where the creek then wraps behind, I believe it's the Quail Glen subdivision. And so we would be able to clear debris, protecting both life and property from lowland flooding as a result of this work.
Any questions for this lady? Okay, is there a consensus to put this on the consent agenda?
Yes.
All right, make it so, Madam Clerk.
All right.
Thank you. Item number 6, discuss additional family planning funds for the NCDHHS. Ralph.
Good morning. We've got, it's right at $1,700, $1,699 in federal funds for long-term family planning. Money has to be spent by April, actually. We want to come to request the board that they accept that. Board of Health accepted it at the January meeting. And then the other one is establish a fee for Prevnar, a recommended price $302. The actual cost of that vaccine is $285, $295, whatever, depending on what day of the week you can find it. So those are the 2 that we had.
Any questions from the board? The consensus?
Consent agenda.
Okay, consent agenda, please. Thank you, Dr. Rouse. Okay, item number 8, discuss a request to bar off taxes for 11 and 12.
Good morning, Vice Chair, members of the board. This morning I come before you to request the barring off of the 2011 and 2012 delinquent taxes. Statute dictates that for delinquent taxes that are more than 10 years past due, that we cannot collect those using forced collection remedies, and the statute of limitations affects the use of the tax department to proceed with bank or rent attachments, garnishment of wages, sheriff executions, debt set-offs, and foreclosures. Although forced collections is no longer permissible by law, the delinquent taxes still remain a lien on the property and can be collected from other methods, including private sale of the property. So the amount that was barred off for September 30th, 2011 for real and personal property was $22,510.82, and motor vehicles was $39,310.56. For the 2012 year, real and personal property taxes to be barred off was $27,197.18, and motor vehicles was $47,024.06. Attached agenda items would show the reports that dictate those total amounts. And this is a statutory requirement. It's kind of like your blessing for us to bar these off and submit that to the finance department. Any questions?
Consensus of the board?
On the agenda. Put it on the agenda.
Okay. Consent agenda.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Item number 9, discuss an ag storage building for Mr. Matthews.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm here this morning to make a request, but I wanted to give a little background before I did that. Back in early 2022, Cooperative Extension Department applied for and was approved for a grant from North Carolina State University, Ag Ventures grant for $8,000 to build a storage shed. The grant was also required a local appropriations, so during the budget development, the use of $7,000 of local funding was also appropriated and approved. The funds were to be used to construct a shelter for the various pieces of farm equipment that our department has that we allow use of by our farmers and citizens in the county. The award of these funds was approved by the Harnett County Board of Commissioners on August 1st, 2022. Because the total projected expense of $1,500 was below capital threshold, the purchase did not require formal board approval. The department moved forward with securing a vendor, but later learned that we would receive a legislative appropriation from the state as part of the $1.5 million funding from Senator Bergen. As a result of the additional funding, we expanded the scope of this purchase to include having sides put on the building to better protect the equipment from the weather as far as theft as well. So we want to make sure it's protected there. The expansion of the scope of work increased the cost from $15,000 to $22,200, which qualified it as a capital and requiring board approval. Additionally, the county has learned that the appropriations from the state must follow federal procurement guidelines, which I was unaware of at the time. The state funding was allocated to multiple units within the county, and Cooperative Extension was not directly involved in the reporting requirements there. As a result, we were not aware of the requirements until just recently. So what I'd like to request, the building is already built, but I would like to request that the board approve the structure as capital outlay and that the board allow the department to use some of our lapsed salary instead of the state appropriations. And if authorized, the budget amendment will be done, prepared for the February 6th, 2023 meeting.
What then would happen to those funds that were allocated by the legislature?
We have, when we learned we were going to receive those funds, we made a list of different items that we wanted to use that for, and I think you guys approved that. We had more on the list that we would like to move on into.
So we would be able to use those funds?
We will be able to use those funds, yes. Our list was much longer than than we had the funds for.
That's always the
So-
case.
So we would move on to some of those other needs.
I'm good with it.
Can I put it on the consent agenda? Yeah. Okay. Madam Clerk. All right, thank you,
Thank you,
Mr. Matthews.
thank you.
All right, item number 10, discuss a request regarding a resolution supporting compression increases for North Carolina Division of Juvenile Justice and Delinquency Prevention, Detention, Youth Development Center, and Court Center. That's a mouthful.
It is a mouthful. Good morning, Commissioners. How are you? My name is Kimberly Whitted. I serve as chairperson for the Harnett County Juvenile Crime Prevention Council. I've been before you, I think, last summer, the last time I was here. There are two things I'd like to talk about. The first one is this resolution. This was given to us by our state, can't think of the word, representative that works with our JCPC, and to bring attention to the juvenile justice and delinquency prevention centers in the crisis that they're in the middle of right now. Chief Deputy Secretary William Lassiter is seeking endorsement from our county JCPC stakeholders as the division seeks legislative support to address vacancy, recruitment, and retention issues experienced by the division. This draft resolution for the Harnett County Juvenile Crime Prevention Council is meant to be presented to you all to review and recommend to support paying the planning and compression relief for the facilities and court services for the staff that staff these detention centers. And so there are a few points that they provided for us that are included in the resolution, but also some additional points just for your hearing and understanding. As I mentioned, they're at a crisis point in North Carolina when it comes to juvenile detention. We have over 50% vacancy rates for direct care facility positions. And the vacancy issue is so critical that employees across the state are being pulled from local communities to support the work in these facilities. The second is the volume of juvenile complaints has increased as schools have reopened. So the need is higher than we have seen in the last couple of years. The county-operated Mecklenburg Juvenile Detention Center was closed. It has 72 detention bed facility, and the shortages for materials due to COVID-19 delayed the opening of new beds in 3 other counties. The projections for capacity for by 2025 is 397. And as of December 1st, 2022, the juvenile detention capacity reached 322. So once again, these are some of the immediate needs that the detention centers are seeing right now. And so this resolution was drafted for our support to present to the legislative body to just add our voice to bringing attention to their needs and added support for requesting that the funds be made available by the state to help fund these detention centers across the state.
Any questions for Ms. Whitted?
Yes, I just, one point of clarification. So this would be a expression of support to decompress that scale so that there would be, I guess, based on experience, qualifications, et cetera, there would be a significant difference between pay set up with that decompression.
That's my understanding as well, just making sure that they have the staffing available and expanding those funds to better equip these facilities with the staff and personnel that are needed to run and keep these beds available for the youth.
To hopefully be able to attract more interest in those vacant positions.
Correct, and also make sure that they fill those positions, yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
What's the pleasure of the board?
Good with it.
Okay. Madam Clerk, consent agenda. All right, thank you, ma'am.
And also, while I'm before you, I just wanted to give an update because I know last summer, that's when during the summer is usually when we present our action plan for the coming year. And just as an update of where we are right now, we have opened our application cycle for the 2023-24 year, and once again, we received $320,000 from the state roughly. And of course, we have a number of applicants, and as always, and as you've already heard, there's been a big issue with retention of qualified staff within the organizations that we help fund through the county funds and then also from the JCPC state appropriated funds. So I know we're coming up on times for discussion for budget, and I just wanted to make sure that you knew where we were in the process. And I'll be happy to come back and to present where we are with the applications and where we might have a shortfall. We definitely have a shortfall with money in the funds that we receive from the state, and understanding what our programs need within the county to provide these services that they have available for our youth. All right. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Davis, item number 11, discuss the Year of the Trail resolution.
Yes, sir. Good morning. Just a little update on Year of the Trail. Back in August of 2022, North Carolina legislator declared 2023 is the Year of the Trail. So a group called the Great Trails State Coalition started a statewide campaign to reach all the communities in North Carolina to help promote, to market, and get people out to use our trails. So I know you all are aware that we adopted the bicycle, pedestrian, and freeway plan back in 2021. So this kind of expands on what we're already trying to do. That plan obviously looks at more of what we're trying to build out in the future, but right now we want to celebrate what we already have. So we've got a group that we've kind of established between Parks and Recreation, Cooperative Extension, Soil and Water, Development Services, Health Department, and others to start doing events throughout the county for all of 2023. So you'll see a bunch of stuff, whether it's guided tours, trail workshops, special events, contests, all things throughout. So that's kind of what we're trying to do here. But obviously, first step of that is for us to do this resolution that just says that we support the trails that we have and are committed to supporting the trail events for 2023 and the celebration of the Year of the Trail.
Okay.
And this resolution is just to support, correct?
Yes, sir.
Consent agenda, Madam Clerk. Thank you, Mr. Davis.
Thank you.
All right, item number 12, discuss nonprofit funding agreements. Ms. Fouts.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So before you today are 17 more funding agreements that have been signed by local organizations to receive their piece of the $1.5 million that we received from the state courtesy of Senator Bergen. So the funding agreements we are asking for approval today are with Anger Chamber of Commerce, Autism Society of North Carolina, Averysboro Battlefield Commission, Combat VTC, Central NC Tax Assistance, Dunn Area Chamber of Commerce, Dunn PAL, Irwin Area Chamber of Commerce, Habitat for Humanity of Harnett County, Harnett Health System, Harnett Sheriff's Office PAL, Lillington Area Chamber of Commerce, SAFE of Harnett County, Special Olympics of North Carolina, Town of Anger, the Town of Coates, and the Veterans Legacy Foundation. So again, with your approval, we will write the checks to each of these organizations, and they can begin funding their programming to serve the public purpose with this money.
Okay, any questions? Okay. Consent agenda, Madam Clerk. Thank you, Ms. Fouts.
Can I ask the question?
Yes.
How many of these nonprofit organizations are receiving some of this money?
Good question. So there's 46 recipients on our list from Senator Bergen, and I believe it's 9 of them are internal departments. So that leaves 37. The numbers just changed. I believe it's 37 external recipients. So we have 17 this week. Last time I believe was 10. So we'll probably have about 10 more funding agreements that I'll hopefully bring next work session. It might linger over a few more, just depending on when we get the contracts back.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right. You'll put that on the consent agenda, please, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay. I have another one.
Oh, that's right. You're next too, aren't you? Okay. Micro purchase threshold.
Thank you. Yeah, so this next one is a request to increase our micro purchase threshold from 10,000, which is our standard number for federal fund funding projects. So basically, just depending on the nature of the project, we will either raise it to $30,000 or $50,000. And if you look on the second page of the resolution, it breaks down which projects would qualify for a micro purchase threshold of $30,000 and which projects would qualify for $50,000. So really, the purpose of this is just to relieve the administrative burden that is placed upon administration and the finance department when we're managing these federal funds. So this would specifically benefit ARPA and other federal funded projects, but mostly ARPA because we do have a lot of those going on. So again, this would just make it a little more manageable for our staff. Less federal requirements would be attached to these smaller projects. There is one note to be made. We caught this minor detail after I submitted the resolution to you. So there's just one minor change that will be before you next week, and that is under 1D. The last number in that paragraph will be changed to $0. Again, just further review of the statutory requirements and recommendations from our procurement officer. So I'm happy to answer any questions.
Hearing no questions, consensus, put it on the consent agenda? Okay,
Okay, thanks, y'all.
Bert, thank you, ma'am. Mr. Pale.
Yes. Good morning, Commissioners. So, presenting the ground lease between the Harnett County and Lenore Johnson Holding Company. I actually presented this sometime last year, but since it's been a while since I brought it up to you, I wanted to revisit it. So at this point, we do have Lenore Johnson has signed this agreement. So before the board was, you all were okay moving forward with the lease as it was. It just took a little while to get a signature. So we finally do have Lenore Johnson has agreed to sign on their ground lease. And this is the hangar that is next to the one that we own, that was previously owned by Warren Aviation, our prior FBO. And Mr. Monroe Lee, who's the principal of Lenore Johnson, had bought that hangar from Warren. And so just again, I'm going to hit just on a few highlights of this. So title to the leasehold improvements, which is the actual hangar itself. It is owned by the lessee during the term of the contract. However, upon termination, it will be owned by the county. Now, there is a provision in here that does, if the lessee does terminate the lease, that they do have the opportunity to remove the hangar within 3 months, or potentially an additional 3 months if there's due to force majeure issues. They do have the option to remove it. I don't know if they would, but that is in there. Otherwise, if they do not, it will become the county's hangar without having to purchase it. The term of this lease is an initial 10-year period and is effective February 3rd, 2020. So we're actually already 3 years into this lease. After that 10-year period, it can be extended for 5-year terms. So the total is 35 years, which under FAA guidance is a good mark to hit. So they always, for these size hangars, 30 to 35 years is preferable. So no ground leases over 50 years. So this fits within that scheme. And again, we're with this lease being signed, we're already actually 3 years into it, so 32 years left in this lease. It does, for this lease, it does allow relocation upon the needs of the county. So again, a lot of things going on at the airport. Obviously, no immediate plans right now to move any of these hangars. So I tell Lenore Johnson Holding Companies that we have no plans once this is signed that we're going to move it. However, airport's always growing, so if we ever do need to move that hangar or any of those hangars for any reason, we can do so and relocate them to another area. If they do not accept that, then the lease would just end after a 1-year notice period. So it does allow that flexibility for us as we grow. Rent, the initial rent will be $2,192, and that is based on a study that was done previously at the airport. Again, the ground leases are not very expensive for airports. It's just the nature of them. But the idea is obviously getting planes in there, tax value off the planes, fuel, and so on. So that's where the benefit is to the county. But there will be a rent escalation starting at the end of the 5th year. So in 2 more years, there will be a rent escalation, and it will continue on from there until the end of the lease.
And again, I believe that's highlighted again in the termination provision. Again, it just allows them, as I already mentioned, to remove it. Otherwise, will become the property of the county. And then in there also is that the lessee cannot sell, sign, or transfer the agreement without prior written consent of the lessor, which consent may be withheld by the county for any reason or no reason in our sole discretion. So we maintain control over this, and so they will not be able to just sell the hangar and without any notice to us, and we could deny that. So I think those are the highlights of this. Again, this is hopefully a lease that we'll be using for all future hangars. This is much more in depth than anything we've ever had in this county, and trying to work on some other hangars. But this is a good first step for the airport.
Okay. What's the pleasure of the board? Ms. McCoy? On the consent agenda, Madam Clerk. Thank you, Mr. Pell.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Capel, if I may, I want to tell you how much I appreciate you getting us to this point. I know it's been a lot of work.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. I appreciate all the patience.
Been a lot of years, too.
It's been a while.
Okay. Item number 15 is a discussion and consider approval of our legislative priorities. And I think I told y'all all of this, but the managers asked for a vote on this today because time is of the essence. So we'll need to, at the conclusion, we'll need to have an action on it.
Thank you, Vice Chair. So the item presented to you in your packet is an updated version of our legislative priorities. Staff went back through and looked at some of the numbers that had updated information. We updated in the proper spots in the actual write-up for the priorities. The priorities remain the same based on the board's input from the last time we discussed this. But I did present to you a set of items that we could consider for requests for funding from the legislature, and you rank ordered those. After receiving the information back, I included in your packet, which is up on the screen, the list of the priorities that based on the rankings that we received. So the number one priority request for funding is the Northwest Corporate Hangar Development. Secondly, the runway extension. Third priority, generator for standby power at the detention center. Animal shelter funding, the natural gas feasibility study, Cape Fear Shiner Park improvements, Greenway project design, and family farm land purchase. I wanted to make mention there was a couple of items that were added by members, which were the development of industrial parks and seeking out funding for that, and the widening of the jetport runway. These items are the ones that we would then submit to our legislature representatives in order to be able to pursue as they consider funding opportunities that they can provide to us. So that's the information I have, and obviously we don't know where they might be able to get funding in what area. So I think this is a good array of projects that even if maybe they don't have funding for number 2, they might have money for funding number 4 or 5 or whichever on the list. So we want to give them a good option to order for them to make their selection and provide funding. Because these are all priorities, and if there's a particular one they can fund, we'll take their money.
Is there a motion on the floor?
Chair, I make a motion we accept the approval of these, or accept and approve these legislative priorities as presented by Mr. Trapp.
Is there a second?
Second.
A motion has been made and probably seconded. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it, Madam Secretary.
Thank you. That way we can finalize the document this week and be ready for our legislative luncheon next week.
All right, item number 16, let's see, that was, yes, item number 16 is a budget amendment for press boxes.
Thank you, Chairman. So what you have before you is information that relates to funding that we have available from previous sale of bonding for school projects. A couple weeks ago, I had a request from the school district to provide some additional funding to help them be able to do 2 press boxes They received funding from the state in order to do one and needed some additional funding, so they go ahead and take care of both of them at the same time based on the bidding that they received. The funding is available if you look at the report, and I'll let Kimberly cover where she sees that and help explain the sheet there.
Okay, so the project ordinance amendment that's included in your package, we had a revision to that yesterday, so hopefully you've received that already. So the school system went out, received bids in the amount of $719,861. We learned yesterday that they have received $325,000 in SCIF funding. That's a grant from the state. So they are asking for us to approve an additional allocation to cover that, so that they can do both, as the manager stated, both press boxes at the same time. So what we're asking for you to approve, if you allow it to be placed on the consent agenda at the next meeting, would be to appropriate $394,861 for the press box replacement. And this will be a one-time payment to the school system. Andrew Cox, the school finance officer, and I discussed that yesterday. And because this is SCIF funding, this would be better accounted for if all the funds are dispersed by his department. Previously, on projects such as this, if the county pays the invoices, the county can save the sales tax, and that's an additional advantage to the school system. But based on the amount of money and the way these funds will be tracked and audited, because they are federal funds, that would be the best course of action. So if you approve that, we will remit those funds once it's approved on the next meeting, if you agree.
I'm sorry, go ahead, madam.
I want to ask a question. These press boxes,
Yes, ma'am.
where will they be located at?
One will be at Harnett Central High School and the other at Western Harnett High School.
That's all I want to know, because there's been a need for that Harnett Central High School for many years now. So,
Yes, ma'am.
I agree.
Mr. Wellsman? Consent agenda, Madam Chair. Secretary. Number 17, discuss administration department position change.
Thank you, Vice Chairman. Today I bring before you a request for a position change within the administration department. Having been here a year and analyzed our structure within the department, I feel that it doesn't make sense to have two assistant county managers, that in reality we should have a deputy county manager, and an assistant county manager. When you look at the structure, it's important to make sure we understand who's second in charge when I'm not, and I think that this helps to clear that up. In addition, it allows us with this change to recruit higher quality individuals and move into different positions. Secondly, as I analyzed that and worked with Coley Price, I feel like he is qualified for this position. Based on his past experience and knowledge about our county, he is a good fit for this. So this will provide us a better opportunity for succession planning as well, as we move people into various positions and allow them an opportunity to find a place to be promoted and keep them within the organization, which typically provides us a better quality product with regards to our individuals knowing and understanding the issues we're dealing with on a regular basis. So I request approval of this change. The funding was available in the contingency fund to be able to fund the increase with pay and benefits for the rest of the year, and then we'll incorporate it into the budget for next year.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion that we put this on the consent agenda and approve this promotion and position change.
Second.
Okay, motion and a second. All, Madam Clerk? Okay.
Thank you.
He is doing that pro bono with.
Huh? Yeah.
Okay, item number 18, discuss animal control contracts. Okay, I put this on the agenda, and see Mr. Blevins and Mr. Smith are here, so that's good. We seem to be having some issues with one particular place. And Erwin and I wanted to have a discussion to see if it's a staffing issue, if it need more staff or whatever, and get some input here as to what it's gonna take to resolve this issue. If it's a support of law enforcement on that particular one, I've got Chief Johnson back here standing by. So I guess I'm looking to y'all for, give me a solution. Tell me how we're gonna fix this. And if we can't, then do we need to continue to build the municipalities for these services? So, is there anything anybody can share with me to help?
Mary, Chris, you guys, why don't you join together?
Well, I'll talk from, I guess, the legal perspective of what was allowed, and I can let Barry talk more on the operations, I guess. So obviously, you all are aware that this past year we updated everything. So we updated county ordinance. We updated the interlocal agreement with the towns for providing animal control services, and then also the municipal ordinance was updated. So every municipality has the same ordinance. It mostly reflects the county ordinance, but there are a few provisions that are different for municipalities. One of which is having chickens or other fowl on the property. It's up to 6 chickens, no roosters. And there's other provisions such as can't have a dangerous dog in town limits and so on. So under the interlocal agreement, Animal Services is in charge of enforcing the municipal ordinance within the town limits. Now, they are the principal enforcer of that ordinance, and their options for enforcement in there's 3 routes. So per the municipal ordinance, a violation of the ordinance is a misdemeanor under 14-4, I believe, which is a class 3 misdemeanor. But for most part, any violation of a town ordinance is a misdemeanor. There are a few with recent legislation which they've decriminalized some ordinances, but animal ordinance is not one of those. So an individual can be charged with the misdemeanor for violation of any provision of the ordinance. Then you have equitable remedies, and that would be injunctive relief, get an injunction, try to get it cleaned up. Now, from the equitable remedy side, that would be up to the town to take that kind of action, just because I don't have the authority or jurisdiction in the town to file anything on their behalf. It would be up to their town attorney to file that, no different than when I file an action such as a problem property to get injunctive relief. The third one is the civil penalties, and that's where Animal Services can write a citation for a violation of the ordinance. First citation is a $100 penalty, second is $200, and third and any subsequent would be $400. Now, again, their authorities, they can issue that citation, the civil citation, say you need to comply with it, with the ordinance, and you have to pay this money. Now, if the individual does not do so, again, it will take civil action. Again, would be up to the town attorneys or outside counsel if they hired one to take action. Again, I always go back to problem properties. We have our planning department which issues their citations. You try to get compliance, and if they don't, I step in and file a civil lawsuit to try to get enforcement and then recoup the civil penalties. So those are the 3 steps that can be taken by Animal Services. So in their regards, is go to a magistrate and take out criminal charges and issue a civil citation. For confiscation purposes, to go in and confiscate an animal, they would need an order of some sort to be able to do so, a court order. Unless there's an immediate threat to the health and safety of persons or the animal. So if an animal is suffering, is a threat that it could die without, if you wait to get a court order, they can go in and confiscate. But otherwise, since we're dealing with property, you need an order to be able to go in and confiscate that animal. So that's all from the legal side of things of how to enforce the municipal ordinance.
So in that particular instance that we're referring to, generally what we do, and I'll let Larry talk more in detail, but generally what we do is instead of walking onto the property or gaining access, that we do a citation. We try to work with the individual first because a lot of times they don't understand the ordinance. And so we give them an opportunity, and then go back after a certain period of time. And if they're not moving with it, if they're not making any changes, then we do cite. And that's not just the town, but across the county, that's generally what we do. Unless it's a public safety issue, as Chris was alluding to, at that point, it's different, and we take that different, we approach that differently. But in the particular case that you and I have discussed, citation was issued. However, it was delayed a little bit, and before this meeting, we'd already established that we would individually go to every town manager and try to figure out how best way to approach the way they want us to do business, because essentially we're working for them under this contract, and we're trying to establish that right now to make sure that when we do cite or we take any issues with a property owner who's not following the ordinance, that they're aware of it and how we move it forward in partnership with the town through the town manager and then his police force. So in this particular case, we delayed it probably a little bit longer than we should have. However, we're firm in what we're doing now, and I believe we have the support of the town, and that's where we'll go forward. And we'll keep citing in that particular instance until we can't cite anymore.
Yeah, well, and I appreciate that. So when you're issuing citations last Thursday, I think it was,
Yes.
when your officer responded out there, I was across the street just by look at a draw. I was over there visiting with somebody and listened to the rooster crowing while your officer was there, and then went over to the man's father's house. So while we're issuing citations, wouldn't it be appropriate to go and cite him for that one as well?
So we're going to, unless he removed it, because he said he would remove them, and that officer was supposed to do a follow-up, and I don't know if they're still out there, but we was told that he will be cited, and that we would follow the ordinance, and he would continue to be cited based on the number of chickens, roosters, or any of those other ones. So,
Well, I understand this. Mayor Baker and I are spending about 2 hours a week on the phone with folks complaining on this. I'll never get back. Okay. So if we could expedite this, I'd greatly appreciate it.
we will expedite this particular case and others. In saying that, like again, we have already started going to other town managers, making sure that we're doing exactly what they want us to do as far under the contract and through the limitations of the contract.
That's what I was looking for to hear from you, that y'all can handle it and you've got what you need to handle it.
Yep.
And you can go ahead and get on it.
Yep. I don't think you'll be hearing any more of it.
All right, thank you,
Well,
sir.
you may be hearing more of it. However, we will address each one and we can give it a higher priority.
All right, thank you.
I have some clarification now. You saying that the town is supposed to first do the citation? Is that what you were
No,
saying?
man, we cite based on the town's ordinance and an interlocal agreement that the town signed off.
Okay,
So we do cite using our citations,
okay,
and then we process it as far as we can, like I said, civilly. Then that becomes the town's issue. I'll be honest with you, in the county, it's exactly the same way. There's a lot of people that we cite and they don't pay it, but we keep citing them, so they accrue a bill. So it's a civil matter, is what it is. I've always said it, the citation keeps an honest person honest, and those are the folks that pay. So, but we do cite them, and go as far as we can with it.
Well, given.
I was just only answering this question because a problem like that had came up in the past, and I had brought it to the board and everything, but there was no action on it. And you're gonna have more problems like this with chickens and all of that. Especially eggs being $6 a dozen.
However, when it's a public safety issue, we do go move forward with that,
Yeah.
so it's
Okay,
not like
that's what I want to know,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's bite dogs and those kind of things.
Thank you so much.
And also, just as from the citation, so obviously there's penalty 100, 200, 400. One part of the amendments that we made in our local was per law. Any of that money would be collected, that would actually go back to the town. So let's just say there had to be a civil lawsuit filed or anything like that. The town could go after to try to recoup that money, and it would be theirs, because if we collect it, it gets remitted back to them, because we can't keep monies that are a penalty for a violation of the municipal ordinance. So we made that change. Now, we obviously take administrative costs, but actual penalties will go back to the towns themselves.
Well, that makes sense.
I can appreciate that you want to work with people. I understand where you're coming from on that. One thing I would suggest is after the second civil citation and they don't respond, let the third one be a criminal summons. They'll respond to that. And that's just a matter of serving them with a summons, just like, of course, it has to be served in person by a sworn law enforcement officer, but sure, Irwin PD can help you on this case. But that's just food for thought. Now, that's, you do it how you see fit, but
We'll definitely take it under advisement.
yeah, that,
See what we do.
if they don't show up on a criminal summons, the next thing that comes out is an order for arrest.
Is that something?
That's a,
Right, because again, any violation of a animal service ordinance is the same for us. It is a misdemeanor, so a warrant can be taken out, whether, animal services to go to magistrate, taking one out. Local law enforcement obviously has the authority to do so because it's a violation of their laws. So there are a route to go there. Now, obviously, once taken out, it goes through the court system, out of our hands at that point, and we'll see how it gets resolved, if anything, in the court system.
I just put that out there as an alternative.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the board? Okay. Thank you. All right, number 19, a discussion about moving fire inspections to the building inspector's office. As many of you may or may not know, the fire code is intertwined with the building code, and there's got to be a constant communication between those two offices. Are we being redundant by having two different agencies doing inspections, or would the public be better served if we put it all under one roof? That's why I put this on there. Of course, I'll be happy to, anybody got any questions or want to ask, but that's kind of where I'm at with it. Nothing that anybody's done or hadn't done, it's just a matter of convenience for the public.
Okay. Well, my response would be is that would like to work with staff to figure out what our options are.
Sure.
And provide a recommendation back and address any particular issues with you. Maybe sit down and go through what we learn with you and then see if there are options that we need to be proposing as far as changes.
Okay, sounds good. Any other questions from anybody?
Vice Chairman, I do have one question, and Mr. Trout, you may or may not know this answer at this time. I'm assuming this is an organization question, how it's organized.
Right.
So I
there
guess
are some rules related to who is responsible to ensure fire inspections are completed, and so there are some guidance that we can look at, and then we can also look at how other communities do this and determine if there are options that have been explored with other communities.
Very good. I guess that answered my question as to assuming the organization does not look the same in every place. So I guess we'd be looking at what would be most efficient,
right,
or what we would think would be most efficient. Thank you, sir. Appreciate that.
Okay. Number 20, review applications to serve on boards and committees. Anybody have any comments?
Yeah, Mr. Vice Chairman, I would like to, the Transportation Board, I understand we've received an application from Mr. Tim Thompson to be considered as the public citizen member. His application is attached, and I would recommend his appointment to that position.
I second that.
Motion have been made and properly seconded. Any further discussion?
I have a question on that.
Ma'am?
I have a question on that.
Okay.
How many people can be considered for that position? Is it just one person? Because we got two applications here.
I believe one application is for the private transportation provider, and then one for the public citizen member.
So both applicants can be considered?
Yes, ma'am.
That's the question I'm asking. Another question is this. Do you have to live within the county?
No, I believe, and Chris, is he still in in here. You have to live or work in the county for
county.
this position, for
Okay.
the, transportation
All right, thank you.
one. Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Vice Chair, I recommend we add that to consent agenda for next time. Mr. Thompson.
Madam Clerk? That to the consent agenda. All right, Mr. Trout, your report, please.
I have nothing further to add for today.
Okay. We've had enough. Is there a motion to go into closed session, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir. Mr. Chair, I move that the board go into closed session for the following purposes: to discuss certain personnel matters and also to instruct the county staff concerning the position to be taken by the county in negotiating a contract for the acquisition of real property. This motion is made pursuant to North Carolina General Statute 143-318.11 A6 and 5.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, motion have been made properly second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, let's get up and go into closed session. Having no further business, is there a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Second.
And properly seconded. Any further discussion? Anything else from the manager's table? Hearing none. All
Motion
those in
to
favor
adjourn.
say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. That's